Hi, Taurus. This is not just a horoscope reading. This is a sacred message sent through time, straight to your soul. A lucky day is coming, and if you're still enough to listen, the universe will reveal everything you've been waiting for. What if this moment, this very video, is the exact doorway your spirit has been asking for? Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, where we don't just read the stars, we listen to what they whisper. You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. The timing of your click, your breath, your presence, it's all part of a greater orchestration. Something within you brought you here. Maybe it was a whisper you couldn't ignore. Maybe it was a question you've been asking in silence. Is something finally about to change for me? Yes, Taurus. Something is shifting. April 14th isn't just another day. It's a portal, a soft opening in the veil of your current reality, where what you've planted in secret can finally take root and rise. The cosmic energy on this day supports bold clarity, emotional rebirth, and the arrival of long-awaited blessings. I can feel it, that calm strength of yours, the steady heart beneath everything you carry. Taurus, you are built for beauty, but you are also built for breakthroughs. And this time, you don't have to fight for it. You only need to let it in. So ask yourself now, what did your soul do to align so perfectly with this moment? Because when Taurus shows up in divine timing, the earth listens. And when you align with that still power inside you, the universe responds. If any part of your heart is beginning to stir, even slightly, I invite you to affirm your readiness in the comments. Type the number 6, the sacred number of harmony, healing, and homecoming. Let it be your signal to the universe that yes, you are ready to receive. Let me also take a moment to express my deepest, heartfelt gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment, every shared moment in this space brings you closer into the Eternal Mindfulness family. And from the bottom of my soul, thank you. Your support allows this channel to keep sharing these transformational messages with people just like you. And trust me, Taurus, you will want to stay until the very end of this video. What the stars are about to reveal to you today is nothing short of extraordinary. This isn't just guidance. It's a mirror to your next evolution. So tell me, my loyal Taurus soul, what have you been calling in that led you here today? It begins quietly. Not with fireworks or loud affirmations, but with a subtle softening inside you, the kind that happens when something unspoken starts to feel possible. Right now, the sky is aligning in a way that's rare and sacred, and Taurus, you're standing in a moment of gentle cosmic generosity. Venus, your ruling planet, is glowing with clarity and compassion. Her light pours into your field, amplifying your natural magnetism and inviting a deeper kind of receiving, not just of money or material things, but of connection, purpose, and alignment. There's something extraordinary about this point in the season. Mid-April holds a kind of breath between what has been and what could be. The air itself feels expectant, as though the universe is leaning in to whisper, "This is your time." And the truth is, it is. This is when your steady nature becomes your greatest power. While others chase the next thing, you know how to hold space for what's worth waiting for. But now, life is not asking you to wait, it's asking you to move, gently but with intention. The Fool and the Three of Wands, two cards that may seem contradictory at first glance, but together, they paint a beautiful truth. the future is not mapped out, but it is open. The Fool invites you to trust without needing all the answers. To leap, not recklessly, but with reverence. To understand that surrendering control doesn't mean you're lost, it means you're making room. The Three of Wands confirms this. You've done the work. You've envisioned more. Now it's time to meet the horizon. And yet, change doesn't always come through grand gestures. Often, it arrives through preparation. Through intention. Clearing space on a shelf, lighting a candle at sunset, these aren't just rituals, they are declarations. You're saying to life, I'm ready to make space for what's next. I'm willing to believe that what's meant for me is already on its way. There is wisdom in simplicity, in aligning your outer world with the clarity you seek inside. In some traditions, it's said that before blessings arrive, the ground must be emptied, tilled, and made ready. It's not punishment or delay, it's grace. Imagine you are a garden. What you clear now makes room for what you wish to bloom. The action of writing down your desires, of sweeping a corner of your room, of igniting a single flame, these are not small acts. They are energetic choices. They whisper to the cosmos that you are not just asking for change, you are preparing to receive it. This energy we speak of is not floating above you. It lives within you. The gateway is not some invisible doorway in the stars. It is your willingness to walk forward with trust, to release the heavy grip of certainty, and to allow life to flow through you instead of around you. In stillness, in presence, in letting go, we don't become passive. We become powerful. That is the paradox. When you stop chasing and start aligning, the things that once felt out of reach begin to approach you, softly and surely. Taurus, this moment is an invitation to believe that there is more waiting for you than what you've settled for. And it begins not with answers, but with questions. What am I willing to let go of? What kind of life do I believe I deserve? What does being ready truly feel like? Let these questions live with you for a while. Not to torment you, but to guide you. And as you do, don't forget that every step you take toward your future is already part of it. What often gets misunderstood about Taurus is that your steadfastness is mistaken for resistance. But the truth is, your loyalty to what you believe in, your persistence, your rhythm, is not a flaw. It's your power. The only time it becomes a cage is when it's attached to expectations that no longer reflect who you are becoming. And that's what this phase is here to illuminate. You're not being asked to abandon your nature, Taurus. You're being invited to expand it. There is a sacred moment that arrives in each person's life, a pause, quiet and unmistakable, when the path ahead begins to whisper, not shout. It doesn't demand action from fear, but it suggests movement from wisdom. The cards drawn for you now, Judgment and the Emperor, speak of this moment. They reflect the time in between who you've been and who you're capable of becoming. Judgment is not about punishment or guilt. It's about awakening. It's that inner nudge that says, you've outgrown this layer. Step out of it. Sometimes we build lives out of habit, out of what was once necessary, but is now outdated. The roles we agreed to, the careers we pursued, even the goals we set, many of these were born from moments when we didn't yet know how powerful or worthy we truly were. And so, life gently comes along to ask, is this still true for you? Are you still moving from your center, or have you drifted into living someone else's dream? The Emperor comes in next, not to control, but to realign. This card doesn't demand that you tear everything down. It asks you to take your place at the head of your own table. In a world that constantly tells us to be smaller, quieter, easier to manage, the Emperor reminds you, your life is yours. Your time is valuable. Your voice matters. This isn't the energy of rebellion, it's the energy of sovereignty. And the truth is, stepping into that role begins with a single act of honesty. Asking yourself where you've stayed too long. Where you've dimmed your light to fit in. Where you've said yes when your whole being whispered no. There is no shame in those choices, only the invitation to choose differently now. This is why action is essential. Not impulsive action, but clear, grounded movement. When you sit with what matters most to you, not what your family expects, not what society praises, but what you truly desire to build, you begin to live in harmony with yourself. And in that space, clarity grows. You start to see new possibilities. You begin to attract experiences and people who reflect your true worth. One of the most compassionate teachings I've ever known is this, that suffering arises not from pain itself, but from attachment, from gripping too tightly to what must change. It doesn't mean you have to burn bridges. But it does mean you must stop crossing them out of guilt or fear. Freedom begins when you can honor your past without being bound to it. So maybe this is the week you realign your goals, not just professionally, but personally. Where do you want to be 6 months from now? What would it feel like to work with people who see your worth without you having to prove it? What if success didn't mean hustling harder, but receiving more wisely? These aren't just lofty ideas, they're starting points for action. And you don't have to do it all at once. One new decision is enough to shift the entire current. One job inquiry. One class you sign up for. One honest conversation. One commitment spoken into a quiet room, I am worthy of complete success. And so you are. Somewhere in between the decisions we make and the ones we avoid, there's a quiet ache that begins to settle. Not always loud, not always visible, but it's there, tucked beneath the surface of your strength. And Taurus, you know this space well. You're so often the one others lean on. The calm voice, the steady hand. But even the earth needs rain. Even the strongest roots require time to rest. After the movement of stepping forward, of choosing growth and responsibility, comes the sacred pause. A space not to retreat, but to restore. Healing, real healing, doesn't ask for drama or performance. It asks for stillness. And the cards guiding you now, the Ace of Cups and the Four of Swords, offer a quiet invitation. Let yourself be whole, not just functional. The Ace of Cups is the first drop of compassion, not towards others, but back toward yourself. It is the moment your own heart opens to you. The Four of Swords offers the rest that follows effort, not from defeat, but from completion. It's a reminder that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of acceptance. Sometimes the most courageous thing we can do is soften. You may be smiling now, and I hope you are. But maybe, just maybe, you're also carrying a weight that few around you can see. And that's okay. You don't need to explain it. You only need to give yourself permission to set it down. For a moment. For tonight. For however long it takes to come back to yourself. There's a quiet teaching that says healing begins when we stop resisting what we feel. When we meet ourselves exactly as we are, not as we think we should be. That every emotion, every moment of confusion or tenderness, is just another wave of being human. And when we allow it to move through us, without grasping, without pushing it away, it transforms. Gently. Naturally. Loving yourself doesn't have to be loud. It can be as simple as going to bed a little earlier, giving your body what it truly needs, or sitting in silence with your breath. The body, like the earth, remembers how to return to balance. We only need to stop interrupting it with pressure and expectation. Writing down your feelings isn't indulgent, it's clarity. When you let your emotions speak, you stop letting them control you from underneath. You become your own listener, your own witness. And in that space, judgment begins to melt into understanding. Food, too, becomes medicine when we treat it with care. What we take in energetically and physically becomes a part of our inner world. Choosing light, simple nourishment isn't about rules. It's about honoring your body as a vessel for something sacred, your presence. And then, there's the ritual. A white candle, a letter to your past self, a flame that releases what no longer belongs. Not as a dramatic gesture, but as a soft declaration, I no longer need to carry this. You're not erasing who you were. You're simply setting them free. Offering them compassion the way you always wished someone would offer it to you. This part of the journey isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering that you were never broken. Just layered. Just tired. Just human. And healing is not a destination. It's a rhythm. Like the breath. Like the seasons. Like the tide. It comes and it goes. And in learning to move with it, you begin to trust yourself again, not just as someone who can endure, but as someone who is worthy of joy, ease, and rest. Sometimes abundance isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. And Taurus, this may be the moment to remember that wealth has always been meant for you. Not just in numbers, not just in gold, but in the quiet security of knowing your needs are met. Your efforts are honored, and your life reflects the richness you carry inside. To live in abundance is not to seek excess, but to live in right relationship with value, both within and around you. This part of your journey asks you to redefine what it means to be rich. Not by someone else's standards, not by the loud images flashing across a screen, but by a definition that is rooted in your truth. The way a tree grows strong not by force, but by knowing when to rest, when to reach, when to let go. Wealth, too, is a rhythm. It expands and contracts like breath, and when you stop trying to hold it too tightly, you begin to see how naturally it flows. The Magician card reminds you that nothing outside of you is missing. The tools are already here. The skills, the knowledge, the inner drive, they may be scattered, buried beneath doubt or distraction, but they're not gone. The Star card brings hope, not in a fantasy sense, but in the very real promise that what is meant for you can begin to return the moment you open to it. You're not starting from nothing. You're starting from wisdom. And yet, knowledge alone isn't enough. It's your willingness to act on what you know that transforms potential into prosperity. Abundance is not only energy, it's choice. It's choosing to track your spending because that builds clarity. It's choosing to save even a small amount because it cultivates trust. It's choosing to delay that impulsive purchase not out of lack, but from self-respect. These are not restrictions, they are acts of alignment. There's a quiet teaching that suggests when we use money without awareness, we reinforce a sense of emptiness. But when we use money with care, it becomes an extension of love. It's not about how much you have, it's about how deeply connected you feel to the flow of giving and receiving. When you make even one intentional decision with your finances, you're telling the universe, I'm ready to care for what I've been given. Creating a sacred space for your financial intentions may sound simple, but its effect can be profound. A small corner of your home, infused with intention, a green plant symbolizing growth, a bright coin as a beacon of abundance, and a handwritten note of what you're welcoming in, becomes a quiet agreement between your outer world and your inner clarity. This isn't superstition. It's symbolism. And symbols matter because they speak the language of your subconscious. When you see your intention every day, you begin to act in accordance with it, often without even realizing. The path to prosperity isn't paved in pressure. It's walked in mindfulness. If you feel called to build something, a business, a new role, a more empowered relationship with money, start small. But start. One journal entry about your current finances. One commitment to not spend when you're emotionally unsettled. One habit shift that says, I value what I have, and I'm open to more. Just as a seed knows when to bloom, your abundance will unfold at its own pace. Your only task is to remain rooted in integrity, open to receiving, and clear in your desire to create a life that honors your full worth, not just financially, but wholly. Love, for you, has never been loud. It lives in the quiet places, between steady glances, in long silences filled with trust, in the way you show up over and over again, even when no one notices. Taurus, your heart doesn't crave grand displays. It longs for depth, for stability, for the kind of connection that holds true even when the world feels uncertain. But the truth is, even the most loyal heart needs room to breathe. And now may be the moment to ask, are you loving in a way that allows you to remain whole? When the Emperor and the Ace of Cups appear together, the message is both grounded and emotionally powerful. The Emperor brings structure and clarity, not control. He reminds you that in love, as in life, you are allowed to have boundaries, needs, and voice. The Ace of Cups, gentle and open, symbolizes a new emotional beginning, whether with someone new, with a partner you've walked beside for years, or perhaps most importantly, with yourself. Sometimes, healing in love doesn't mean walking away. It means learning how to stay without disappearing. To stop morphing into who you think the other person needs, and start standing in who you truly are. And for those who've been carrying old wounds, loss, betrayal, unspoken heartbreak, this is the moment to soften around them. Not to forget, but to release the expectation that love must hurt to be real. You were never meant to live guarded. If you're single, you might feel the urge to wait until everything aligns perfectly, the timing, the readiness, the confidence. But what if your openness is the alignment? A soft smile, a genuine message, a willingness to simply be present, these are not small gestures. They are invitations. Not just to others, but to life itself. When you move from sincerity rather than performance, you begin to call in people who are ready to meet you where you are. And if you're in a relationship, ask yourself, are we still speaking the same language, or are we reciting old scripts? True connection doesn't live in routine, it lives in renewal. The small acts of warmth, the pauses to truly listen, the courage to speak honestly without blame, this is where love is reborn. One of the gentlest truths we often forget is that the people we love are constantly changing. So are we. The question is not, have we changed, but, are we willing to rediscover each other, again and again? Emotion, like water, needs flow. When we suppress it, it stagnates. When we express it with presence and respect, it nourishes everything it touches. That's why simple acts, an affectionate gesture, a meal prepared with care, a moment of undivided attention, becomes so powerful. They're not distractions from the sacred. They are the sacred. There is a quiet wisdom in understanding that love, at its best, doesn't rescue you from yourself, it leads you deeper into your own presence. And in that presence, you find not just the other person, but the truth of who you are becoming. It's not about whether someone chooses you. It's about whether love, in its purest form, allows you to choose yourself over and over again, without having to shrink, shape-shift, or perform. If a color could carry the vibration of this message, it would be soft pink, an energy that calms, comforts, and awakens the heart. Let that color remind you this week that tenderness is not weakness. Vulnerability is not risk. They are the language of real connection, the bridge between you and everything you've quietly hoped for. So ask yourself now, what kind of love am I ready to give? And more importantly, what kind of love am I finally ready to receive? And so here we are, dear Taurus, standing at the gentle edge of a new beginning. The journey we've taken together today wasn't meant to give you all the answers, but to remind you that you've always carried the map. Everything you need is already within you, the patience, the wisdom, the strength, and yes, the softness too. You don't need permission to choose yourself. You don't need proof to believe in your own readiness. What you need is exactly what you're doing now, taking one conscious breath, one aligned step, and allowing change to meet you halfway. The universe is never in a rush, and neither are you. But when energy starts to move, it's your choice to respond, to co-create, to show up. You don't have to leap blindly into the unknown, but you do have to trust that what's calling you is real. Whether it's a change in your work, a deeper connection with yourself, or the quiet courage to open your heart again, know that what you're moving toward is already moving toward you. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you are beneath the noise. If you've made it this far, something inside you has already shifted. Maybe it was subtle, a thought you hadn't considered before, a breath that felt more complete, a flicker of hope where there was once hesitation. Don't ignore that. Don't brush it off. That small inner movement is the beginning of momentum. It's how real transformation begins, not with fireworks, but with awareness. So now, I invite you to make this moment real. Reflect for a second. What part of today's message resonated most with you? Was it the reminder to honor your emotions? The call to redefine what abundance truly means? The gentle push to take action in your career or relationships? Or perhaps it was simply the validation that you are not alone, that you are seen, you are heard, and you are supported. Leave a comment below and share one small commitment you're willing to make this week. Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but to anchor your intention. To say to yourself, and to the universe, I'm listening. I'm ready. You can use the words, I'm ready to honor my timing. Or come up with your own sacred declaration. Let this space be one of reflection, connection, and quiet power. And if you felt held, guided, or uplifted by this message, I kindly invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you care about. Your support doesn't just help us grow, it helps these messages reach more people who are ready to step into their light, just like you. Thank you for being here, not just watching, but truly showing up. The energy you bring matters. Your presence has already added something beautiful to this space, and I don't take that for granted. I hope you'll come back to this video whenever you need a reminder that your timing is sacred, your path is unfolding, and the next version of you is already waiting, just on the other side of belief. Until then, walk gently. Speak kindly to yourself. And trust, with your whole heart, that every step you take, no matter how small, is being met with a quiet miracle.